Hello, everybody. I am Linda McGhee, and I am going to give 2 of my minutes to Art Cartwright and 2 of my minutes to Herb Strather. And the reason that I'm doing that is because these 2 people are a part of why I'm here. They are part of what it is that I want to tell you. Can you hear me? Okay. So, just by way of introduction, I grew up right down the street. You're on Green Lawn, or Marygrove. The soccer field sits on Green Lawn. In 6 Mile, I am at Green Lawn in Puritan. That's where I was born and raised. I left my mother's house this morning because she's still there. And when I was growing up, it was a beautiful neighborhood. It's becoming a beautiful neighborhood again. It did go through some transition. And I'm pretty much a lifelong Detroiter. I attended Wayne State University, University of Michigan, where I majored in communication. Dr. Moore, mentioned his passion for educating young people about business. Well, majoring in communication or liberal arts at the University of Michigan, I never learned anything about business, and it had very little to do, for me, college was a party, and it had very little to do with what I'm doing now. Looking back on it, I'm struggling to find the things that I learned that are helping me in what I'm doing now. But as God would have it, he introduced me to some amazing people. In fact, when I came out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I became a substitute teacher. And I met a lot of people while I was teaching because I had to travel from school to school and meet all these amazing people. And my mother was an educator. She was a principal, my father was a principal, and they shaped me. I didn't realize it at the time, of course, but they shaped me into the woman that I am today. Now, on the journey to becoming being a substitute teacher, I was at a school called Drew Middle School. You went to Drew Middle School? Oh, okay. And I also taught at Weber Middle School. And you went to Weber? Oh my goodness. I mean, at the time I was teaching, those were 2 of the worst schools in the district. So, but it was a learning experience being a substitute teacher because I got to see, as I told you, my parents shaped me. But teaching showed me a whole different side of growing up, a whole different reality. I didn't realize at that time that children had the struggles that they had. I didn't realize that children, all of my friends had both of their parents. So when I started teaching, I learned that wasn't everybody's experience, and some of the children that I taught really acted out. One that comes to mind, maybe I won't be giving you my 2 minutes, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try. One comes to mind though is Kawisi. Kawisi struggled in school, but I didn't know he was struggling because I was 22, 23 years old myself, and I had no experience in education. At that time, Detroit Public Schools would hire you right out of college, no educational background whatsoever. And when I was teaching Kawisi, he would always disrupt my class. This is the 8th grade, and I would ask him, why are you being so belligerent in my class? I need you to leave. But what I came to learn was that Kawisi couldn't read. Kawisi didn't have his mother or his father. He was being raised by his grandmother who raised all of his siblings. Kawisi was a drug dealer. Kawisi was 16 years old. So I started to mentor Kawisi and some young men in my class who cut up with him after school. And none of them could read. They were all drug dealers. And one of them, Anthony, pulled out a wad of money out of his pocket and said, "How much do you make?" And I said, I'm not gonna tell you how much I make. He said, "Well, if you work for me, I know you'll make more money." And he was probably right. I probably would have made more money working for him, but he was a drug dealer. And I didn't know the kids did that at that time. So that set me on another path. I wasn't going to be a teacher, I was going to law school. I decided to go to law school, and as a part of my law school career, I focused on juveniles. And I interned at the Wayne County Juvenile Court where I got a whole nother education. And after that, I went to the prosecutor's office and learned that I felt like I was working for Satan when I was at the prosecutor's office, only because of my background experience. And it's not, there are wonderful people there, and there's a job to do. You have to represent the people, you have to protect the people in their interests. But what I started to see was that there was very little information or interest in the way the adults had grown up. Nobody knew or cared about what their background was. It was that you broke into this house and you need to be punished, and that's the point. It's a punitive system. However, because of my background in the Wayne County Juvenile Court and teaching, I knew there was something better that could be done to help these adults. Why don't we try to treat them before they become adults? So I left the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office and started a nonprofit that I knew nothing about. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. I didn't know how to start a nonprofit. I just know that the Lord led me to start a nonprofit. And I asked my parents, what should I do? My mother said, you can come to my school and work with my students. And that's where Art Cartwright becomes part of my story, because he was at that school as a teacher. And he, over time, mentored me so that my nonprofit could be successful. It was called the ARC Nonviolence Program. During that mentoring process, because I didn't have experience nor the education to make it work, I struggled a lot. And I reached out to businesses. I wrote 1 million letters to different businesses asking them for financial support, and I rarely got even a response. And it could be because the letter wasn't in the form that it should have been. You know, I didn't have the right application. I just didn't know what to do or how to do it. But as God will have it, I received a grant from the federal government that trickled down to the Detroit public school system, the Safe and Drug-Free Communities and Schools grant, that allowed us to be open for about 10 years. And for some reason, the federal government decided Detroit was not going to be a place that they focused on for safe and drug-free schools and communities. And the grant was no longer available to the public school system, so we transitioned into a different type of program. So during all of that, speaking with Mr. Cartwright and wanting to quit probably 100 times, I would call him because he was a successful business person, and he had an interest in nonprofits. See, it was really weird knowing he was going to be here, because he's always a part of my story. This is really weird. But knowing that he had an interest in businesses, I would talk to him quite often, and when I wanted to quit, you know, I just told him, I'm just not doing this anymore. The kids are still cutting up. You know, I really don't see the benefit, the long-term benefit of what I'm doing, nor the short-term benefit, and I don't have any money. And he said, you know, you don't have any money right now, but if you keep doing what you're doing, God's gonna make a way. And he said that you are an employer. Your nonprofit, you're thinking of it as a nonprofit, but it's a business. And as a business, how many people do you have working for you? At that time, I had 3. And we had as many as 5 who would work with the students, because I went back to work as an attorney. And he said, those are 3 people that you are employing. You can't quit. You have a purpose. And he was very, very encouraging and inspirational. And I said, okay, you're right. I can't just quit. And I'm not a quitter anyway. I just said that because I was frustrated at the time. So that morphed into wanting to do something more for these children. One of the things that I'm doing now is I work now as an attorney in the Wayne County Juvenile Court, and everything kind of came full circle. And I am the co-director of an organization called the Michigan Children's Law Center. The Michigan Children's Law Center, or as MCLC as we call it, is dedicated. The 25 attorneys are dedicated to representing children who are in foster care or who are delinquent and need services. Pretty much most of our delinquent clients should have been in foster care. A lot of them should have been in foster care, but once they get old enough or too old and they start acting out, again, nobody's asking, hey, what led up to this? We're just gonna deal with you where you are now. So these 25 attorneys are absolutely fabulous, and we have different initiatives within our organization. One is the Educational Advocacy Unit, and we represent children who are in the school system who may have had some trouble in school, who may need an IEP. A lot of grandmothers, mothers, fathers have no idea what is supposed to happen at an IEP. There's a whole statute, there's legislation that addresses IEPs or special education for students who are in the school system. So our attorneys go to those IEP meetings with them. They deal with the principal, they deal with the teachers, they deal with the parents, and they are pretty much a one-on-one legal resource for that parent, which is just a phenomenal program that we have. Another is the Aging Out Unit. The Aging Out Unit, many of you may know that foster children age out of the system at the latest 21 years old, at the earliest 18. And as an 18-year-old, you can go into a judge's courtroom and say, I've been in foster care for 10, 15 years, or even 1 year, and I'm tired of it. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do anymore. I don't want to participate in these services. I want to be out. 9 times out of 10, unless their attorney is really, really advocating hard to make sure that they are not aged out, that 18-year-old is out. The judge will say, okay, you don't want to participate, you don't have to. how many people were ready to just be out on their own at 18? Not how many thought they were ready, but how many were actually ready. Nobody's ready at 18 years old, unless they absolutely have to be. Most of us have the assistance and support of somebody. So our Aging Out unit is assisting young people who are about to age out into the community by making sure that they are prepared for that. Our third initiative is what to do when you're stopped by the police. That is a program where we have panel discussions such as this, but they're in the school system, and we have an attorney, Robin L. McCoy. If anybody's on Facebook, you've seen Robin. And she is phenomenal at educating young people on what should happen at a police encounter to make sure that the police officers feel safe, and but more importantly, make sure that the children are safe and the young people are safe, and that they make it home safely. And then they contact their legal representative or a legal representative to advocate for them in the courtroom if they feel like their civil liberties have been violated. So that's what Michigan Children's Law Center is, and as such, we are trying to connect with businesses. We have reached out to a couple of banking partners, and perhaps it just wasn't a good fit. So we have not found a banking partner yet, so I will be speaking with you after or before you leave. And we are really hoping that everybody here, business owner, nonprofit, executive director, whatever it is that you do, that you think about these children who are out here. Maybe you see them on the news. I looked at the news 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, and there were 3 teenagers, thank you. 3 teenagers were stealing packages off of a porch. And I said, that's ridiculous. And I took a little snapshot, put it on Facebook. Who steals Depends off of a porch? I go visit one of my clients, and her mother says, do you remember on the news the other day when somebody was stealing packages off the porch? And I said, yes, I thought that was just ridiculous. Oh, well, that was her. And it was the picture that I had, and I said, you know what? This is a little sad that this is happening right now. But when young people are doing things like that, you might want to think about what it is that they may be going through. And you as a business owner can connect with nonprofits. It doesn't necessarily, I would like it to be MCLC, but it doesn't necessarily have to be MCLC, but some organization, so that there's a sound collaboration to help whatever it is that your cause is. It could be homelessness, it could be teenage pregnancy, it could be prison reform, but usually that starts with people who were children, and then we grow up into be these other people who need help. So that's pretty much what I have. I'm sorry, Mr. Cartwright, Mr. Strather, I didn't even get to how you mentor me. So we'll just talk about that later. Thank you.